While the basic rules of chess are well known, there are several odd and weird rules that most people probably don't know about. In this video, we will explore some of these lesser known rules that add depth and complexity to the game. Number 1. Claim a win by playing an illegal move. If the king is on check and that check is not removed and some other move is played by your opponent, you can claim a win. If you don't, your opponent can claim a win as soon as you play a move while the opponent king is still in check and it's your move. This actually happened with world champion Magnus Carlsen in a game where his opponent Ernesto Inarkiev, sorry if I messed up his name, made an illegal move.
And in this position, Ernesto Inarkiev totally ignored this check and he played knight to e3.
And Magnus was unable to spot it and lost the game by playing a move over his opponent's illegal move. Number 2. The no-touch rule. The no-touch rule or the touch move rule is one of the most important rules in chess. Simply put, the touch move rule states that if a player touches one of their pieces, they must move that piece if it has a legal move. This rule prevents players from touching pieces without the intention of moving them, which could be used to intimidate or mislead their opponents. However, what many players may not know is that the touch move rule also applies to pieces that are touched accidentally. If a player accidentally touches one of their pieces, they must still move that piece if it has a legal move. Another part of the touch move rule is when castling. The king must be the first piece touched. If you touch the rook, you must move it, which screws up the castle. Number 3. En passant. The en passant rule is one of the most confusing rules in chess, and it's a rule that many players may not be familiar with. It basically allows you to diagonally capture your opponent's pawn with your pawn after it makes 2 moves forward from its starting position and lands right next to your pawn. If that sounds confusing, let me explain. Let's say that a player moves their pawn 2 squares forward from its starting position. If an opponent's pawn is on the square right next to it, the opponent's pawn can capture the player's pawn en passant or in passing. The capturing pawn moves diagonally to the square behind the player's pawn, and the player's pawn is removed from the board. Note that this move can only be played on the first time your opponent's pawn has been moved, which means if you miss it, you can just capture the pawn en passant in the next move. Number 4. The 50 move rule. The 50 move rule is another lesser known rule in chess that can result in a draw. The rule states that if both players have made 50 moves without a capture or a pawn move, a player can claim a draw. This rule is in place to prevent players from endlessly playing on in a position that cannot be won, such as a king and pawn versus a king endgame. If a player believes that the 50 moves have been played without a capture or pawn move, they can claim a draw by stopping the clock and asking the arbiter to verify the moves. Number 5. The stalemate. The stalemate is also a rule that not many people understand or predict when playing, and they are often surprised by a draw when it is their turn to play. It is a situation in which a player has a king that is not in check and has no other legal moves to make on the board, whether it's due to lack of pieces or having all of their pieces blocked or pinned in a way that they cannot legally move. In this example, the white player moves his queen to b6. For black, his king is not in check and cannot move to any other square legally, and he cannot move any of his pawns as well as they are blocked by his opponent's pawn. This results in a draw due to stalemate. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Make sure you subscribe.